All right. Hello again, Avengers, and welcome to another exciting daily vlog. This is Daily Vlog 2025, number 2. I think we're at 16 now. Math is hard. So, today, still not doing great health-wise. So, quite a few people were kind enough to comment on both of the videos I put out over the weekend. And instead of replying to them like a normal human being, I think for today I'm just going to answer those comments in video form because, first of all, it gives me a video to make for today, and my brain is absolutely fried and I can't think of a topic. And second of all, I realized something yesterday that may impact my thoughts on what the system they will use for Campaign 4 for Critical Role. So, first things first, if anyone just skipped my videos over the weekend, it's perfectly fine. I made a video talking about the Campaign 4, the Critical Role Campaign 4 announcement. For any of you that are unaware, on Saturday's game, right before Saturday's game, Critical Role played a trailer for Campaign 4 of Critical Role. And one of the things that they mentioned is it's not going to be set on Exandria, and it's not going to be DM'd by Matt Mercer, and the whole cast is not coming back. So it was revealed that Brennan Lee Mulligan is going to be DMing, which I mentioned in the video. It kind of makes sense. Of the people that I could see, Matt and Travis, to be blunt, since he's the CEO, trusting with their Campaign 4, it's a pretty short list, and Brennan is easily at the top of it. And so I did some speculation in that video as well and asked you guys to speculate as well. One of the things that they didn't specifically announce is they didn't announce what system they were using. Everybody but Travis referred to Brennan as the Game Master instead of the Dungeon Master. And for anyone that doesn't know, Dungeon Master is a term that is exclusively reserved for someone that is running Dungeons and Dragons specifically. I don't know if they have Dungeon Master specifically trademarked or it's part of their intellectual property. Because there's a lot of different intellectual property law that can apply. But suffice it to say, I do know no other company, no other game is allowed to call the person running their game the Dungeon Master. That's why there's so many other ones. So it got me to thinking they didn't specifically state that they were using D&D, and they kept referring to Brennan as the Game Master instead of the Dungeon Master. So I thought that meant that they might be using a different system. And the internet has gone wild, specifically the Daggerheart subreddit. Everyone is talking about, oh my god, it's going to be Daggerheart. Oh, there's two different camps there. There is one camp which is, it's going to be Daggerheart. It's going to be Daggerheart. Daggerheart's going to be the most popular game in the entire world. FYI, guys, it's not going to happen. Even if Critical Role does use Daggerheart, it's not going to make it that much more popular. It really isn't. First of all, as of right now, it physically can't get more popular. The reason I say that is they have sold out of 2 full printings. They physically cannot sell any more. So it can't get any more popular. And then the argument that I keep seeing from a lot of people is like, oh yeah, it's definitely going to, is it will increase their sales exponentially. It really won't. Discoverability for a non-Dungeons and Dragons game is relatively low on Twitch, which is why most people, even when they're not playing Dungeons and Dragons, will still remain in the Dungeons and Dragons category because the tabletop RPG category just won't get them any viewers. So the vast majority of people already know, that are going to be watching Campaign 4 already know about Daggerheart and probably already purchased it. So them using Campaign 4 as basically, you know, a 3-year long ad for Daggerheart will not work. I'm telling you this from the viewpoint of someone with a degree in marketing and a decade of experience in sales. That will not work. Will it increase sales a little bit? Yeah, it's not going to be a massive, massive thing because their viewers will drop like a rock. Look at the Age of Umbra games versus the D&D one-shots. They just don't do as well. And especially if you compare to something like the actual Campaign 3. And Campaign 3 was probably their worst viewed campaign. And it still did significantly better than any of the Daggerheart games, even the playtest games where they got tons and tons and tons of views because it was brand new. It's just not everyone thinking that if they do this, then they'll be the number one TTRPG and they'll gain all these sales. They really won't. If they decide to go with Daggerheart, it will not be a marketing move because it would be a dumb one. That's not me saying that I think that they are going to do it. I'm saying that from a business perspective, this would not be a smart business move. The other camp on the Daggerheart subreddit is if they don't use Daggerheart, then I am selling all of my Daggerheart books and I'm setting them alight and I'm making a voodoo doll of each of them and poking it with pins every day at 11:53 a.m. I literally saw one of the posts was, if they don't use Daggerheart, that just shows me that they don't support Daggerheart and they don't believe that it's a good game. No, that's not it. I think something that a lot of people don't realize, Daggerheart was not designed to tell stories like they tell in their big campaign stories. It's just not designed to do that. So everyone going, gosh, if they don't do that, then they don't trust they do trust Daggerheart. They made a game that was not intended to compete with Dungeons and Dragons, because first of all, competing with Dungeons and Dragons is stupid. Second of all, we already have a really great kind of crunchy fantasy tabletop RPG that you can tell these really large, amazing multi-year stories with. It's called Pathfinder. No. It's called Dungeons and Dragons and the many imitators of it. If they just wanted to compete with Dungeons and Dragons, they wouldn't have designed Daggerheart the way that it is. It would have 20 levels instead of 10 levels. It would have more mechanics. It would be able to tell bigger stories. It just simply isn't designed to do that. And that's okay. Again, we have enough games that tell stories like that. They wanted to tell their own story. It's going to be different. But if Campaign 4 is like Campaign 3, 2, and 1, Daggerheart is not a good fit for it, storytelling-wise. So if they don't decide to use Daggerheart, that's not them saying, well, we don't trust Daggerheart. It's not a good game. It's just a money grab. No, it means that the story they want to tell, Daggerheart can't tell. That's all it means. And that's okay. Daggerheart is not meant to be the ultimate tabletop RPG that will that you can use for literally every single thing that has ever been invented, ever. It's not designed for that. And that's okay. However, I did come to a realization over the weekend. So one of the things that I mentioned, Campaign 2 was sponsored by D&D Beyond, meaning they got a paycheck every game from D&D Beyond. Now, it probably wasn't a massive paycheck per episode. They probably got a pretty great deal by just sponsoring the entire campaign. But it was still sponsored by D&D Beyond. And I cannot attest to this. This is just my theory. I have mentioned I did have contacts at the Geek and Sundry Twitch channel back when Critical Role first launched, and I've had personal conversations with Mercer himself. None of the people that I know worked at Geek and Sundry during that time ever even hinted at this. But in my brain, it makes sense. So this is pure speculation. I think they probably had some sort of incentive from D&D to switch over to 5th edition. I don't think it was a massive incentive or anything. It might have just been free products or something like that, but that still turns into a decent amount of money, especially over the lifetime of campaign 1. So I mentioned that, well, if Critical Role does use the Daggerheart, they're literally getting nothing out of it. Like, if they use any other system, they can set up some sort of sponsorship with that system, at least for part of the campaign. Like, I mentioned I thought Paizo might be interested in trying to sponsor Critical Role. Because, again, they're ramping up a lot of their marketing, especially after not only the OGL fiasco where it was shown that they just blatantly lied about not knowing about it, and then the Orc fiasco where they claimed that they were making this OGL that was going to be so much better, and then Critical Role, or not Critical Role, I'm sorry, Wizard of the Coast put their SRD into the Creative Commons, and then Pathfinder had to like majorly backtrack and go, well, I mean, we could put it in Creative Commons, but that would mean that we couldn't steal your content as soon as you published it, and we couldn't force you to not make money off of it. So, isn't Pathfinder fun? And it's the better D&D. So they lost a lot of face. And then other things came out about, things like their artist having to form a union because of just how incredibly poorly Paizo treated them and that. They've lost a lot of face. And Pathfinder supporters have gotten chased out of like half the internet communities because they're belligerent bullies. I'm not saying everyone that likes Pathfinder is a bully, but Pathfinder bros are assholes. And they are a joke in the greater TTRPG community, to the point where one of the most popular kind of jokes to put on like TTRPG Reddit is somebody complains about something and you go, oh, Pathfinder 2nd edition fixes that. Because at every single game in the world, if you ask a Pathfinder bro and you say, well, I don't like this aspect about the game, Pathfinder does it better. Pathfinder does tabletop RPGs better than any other system that has ever existed in the entirety of time. And every single problem that you have with a tabletop RPG is fixed by either Pathfinder or Pathfinder 2nd edition. They are perfect systems. They have no flaws in them whatsoever. So anyway, I kind of thought that Paizo might try to pull a D&D Beyond and go, hey, we want to sponsor campaign 4. They don't have anywhere near the money that Wizards of the Coast does, but they have some money, and so I could see them doing that. And then I realized something that I hadn't recently. Yes, Darrington Press owns Daggerheart. They made it. They own it. Any sales that they get is going to go to them. So if they can increase sales through Campaign 4, again, it wouldn't be much. But if they could, theoretically, that would be one way to offset the cost of the less number of viewers, the less sponsorships and things like that they would be getting because of that. Like, it'd be one way to offset that. But the official online tools for Daggerheart is run through Demiplane, which is owned by a company called Wolves of Freeport. If anyone is unaware, Wolves of Freeport is the parent company of Demiplane, Roll20, and DriveThruRPG. DriveThruRPG is the #1 digital marketplace for tabletop RPGs in the world, Roll20 is one of the oldest and one of the largest and most utilized virtual to tabletops, and Demiplane is Demiplane. It's still very, very small, but it's getting bigger. Theoretically, if Critical Role were to do Daggerheart for Campaign 4, which again, this is not me saying that they are doing that, but this is a factor I didn't think about. Demiplane could sponsor, and technically Wolves of Freeport could sponsor Campaign 4 in a similar method that D&D Beyond did for Campaign 2. And let's be honest, the sponsorship for Campaign 2 really helped D&D Beyond. I mean, Sam wrote a song for D&D Beyond, which I believe was just a joke for one of the ad reads that turned into something real. The theme song for D&D Beyond is a real thing. You can find it on YouTube. It's actually really catchy because Sam, if anyone doesn't know, Sam is a musical genius when it comes to silly parodies and the like. And he actually has a very good singing voice and has a decent amount of musical experience. He was, if I remember correctly, he was Gavroche on Broadway when he was very young. So the dude has some pipes and has a decent amount of experience. So he makes cool stuff. So yeah, that in and of itself would not be enough to offset, in my opinion, would not be enough to offset the number of viewers that they would lose simply from just not running Dungeons and Dragons. But it would be a way to offset, and Critical Role at this point, because of very smart business decisions, is not reliant on Twitch for their income. And what I mean by that is, if their Twitch income drops, the company doesn't fold. It won't be a good thing. They still utilize their income from Twitch for probably a lot of different things. But it is not the linchpin of their operation. They have so many other things, including Beacon is probably offsetting quite a bit of the fact that their Twitch broadcasts in general have gotten lower viewer numbers every broadcast almost for years. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that there are so many different ways to watch the show. And the show's no longer live, so there really isn't as much of an incentive to watch it when it premieres. And they replay the episode like 3 times. First Thursday night, and then I think twice on Friday. So their Twitch viewer numbers have been dropping steadily. It doesn't mean that they're making less money. They are diversifying where they are. So theoretically, if their Twitch numbers take another big plunge, which again, I will almost guarantee they will if they use Daggerheart instead of Dungeons and Dragons, it's not the end of the world for them. They have diversified their income sources by a lot. They have Darrington Press, which doesn't exclusively rely on Daggerheart to make money. They just, at Gen Con, they just put out a new board game. They've got like half a dozen different board games that they put out. They have the Critical Role merch shop. They are still regularly doing sponsored games and sponsored streams and stuff like that. So they're still getting a lot of sponsored stuff. Now that Matt isn't the DM, one of the things he made a post on Instagram talk about the fact that no, he's still playing and he's still going to be DMing, just not Campaign 4. To me, what that says is Matt is now free to do any and every sponsored tabletop show that he wants to do. You know, if My Little Pony calls them up and goes, hey, we want you to do a My Little Pony one-shot, Matt can go, sure, I don't have anything else I'm doing right now. Whereas when he was running the Critical Role campaign, like that takes a lot of work, especially when you look at like the maps and everything that he has to build for that. Like that takes a ton of work. So yeah, again, I'm not sold on the idea that they're going to use Daggerheart for campaign 4. I think it would be a mistake, unless they're going to change what their main campaign means. I think Daggerheart is significantly better suited for shorter form content than the long form content that the campaign is. I think Daggerheart will be much, much better run through things like Age of Umbra. I thought that series was phenomenal. However, if they do, I do not believe it will be the end of Critical Role. It will make them less popular. But they've diversified enough of their income stream that if they don't mind taking a little bit of a hit in their total revenue, and the larger picture is if they do Daggerheart instead, or really any other system instead of D&D, they will see a small hit in their current money. However, the bigger hit that they're going to be is they won't, the company won't expand as fast. So future revenue will take a much, much larger hit. So anyway, like I said, I am slowly being sold on the idea that campaign 4 might be Daggerheart, because there's a lot of other ways that they could deal with Daggerheart. And again, if Demiplane was to sponsor campaign 4, as much as Demiplane is not making a ton of money right now, like Wolves of Freeport, I think the whole company makes similar revenue. I tried looking up their revenue. It was remarkably difficult, but they're in the like 20 to 40 million gross revenue annually bracket, which for anyone that doesn't know, the best year that Paizo has ever had in its existence, if I remember correctly, did somewhere in the neighborhood of like 29 to 32 million gross revenue. So size wise and money wise, they're kind of in a similar bracket of Paizo. The big difference being Paizo is exclusively a Pathfinder company, whereas Wolves of Freeport has 3 different companies underneath it that all have very diverse monetization. But just like what happened to D&D Beyond, if Demiplane were to sponsor that, Demiplane in and of itself would make more money, which would allow it to sponsor Critical Role better. So I mean, there's an argument to be made that they could make money off of running Daggerheart, and that argument doesn't involve, well, then everyone would buy Daggerheart. No, the vast majority of people that are going to buy Daggerheart are not going to be buying it because it's a campaign 4. It's just how it works. Sorry. So yeah, like I said, it was an idea that I had over the weekend, and it felt like something I needed to kind of mention to everyone because it is a thing. For other comments, there were a few people. There was one person in particular, and I'm not going to specifically name names. But if you go to the other video, you can look at the comments. I did see a few people going, why in the hell Brennan? Like, Brennan is already doing so many different things. This seems like a recipe for disaster. Brennan's going to burn out. I think you guys might kind of not understand the difference between what Critical Role does and what literally everybody else in the world that plays Dungeons and Dragons does. And the same thing is true about Dropout. There was someone that actually brought up a few of these points in a reply to one of the comments. But since, what was it, like episode 50, something like that, for campaign 2, Critical Role is entirely pre-recorded. And here's something that a lot of people don't understand about the acting world. in most shoots, whether you're doing a television show, whether you're doing a movie, an independent film, whatever it is, your normal shoot day is a minimum of 10 to 12 hours, sometimes 16 plus. The actual time that they have actors, because actors are the most expensive thing on almost every set. The only people that get paid more than most actors is going to be like the director. Generally takes a decent purse home, though not as much as a lead actor. And a few other like big positions, but there's really not many groups that are paid more than the actors. And a lot of times, especially if you're dealing with extras and other things like that, or big scenes, like the number of actors on screen means that the amount of money you're spending is going to be heavily weighted towards the actors themselves. So they try to keep them there for the least amount of time possible. And what that means is they shove filming an entire, like, for a normal movie, like a 30-day shoot is somewhat average. Like shooting for 4 to 6 weeks is somewhat average. And that's hours upon hours upon hours of video. So when we bring this back to these D&D shows, they're not recording one of these episodes every single week. More likely than not, they record the episodes in batches. Like Critical Role only creates 3 episodes a month. That's it. Because they take the 4th Thursday of the month off. So it's only 3 episodes a month. You theoretically could shoot all 3 episodes in one day. And because of how difficult it is to set up cameras and lighting and all that stuff, I would be very, very surprised if they didn't shoot at least 2 episodes back to back, if not like 3 or 4 episodes within a couple days. So, yeah, Brennan's going to be doing a decent amount of like planning work that'll probably add an extra couple days to his schedule. But he probably, like, per month, if he spends more than a week doing Critical Role stuff, and I'm talking about, like, week as in work week, like 40 hours. If he spends more than 40 hours a month doing Critical Role stuff, I would be very surprised. In the comments, one of the people that replied mentioned things like, for the shorter dropout sessions or seasons that are only like 4 to 10 sessions, they film all those in less than a week. So it's not like, we may be watching them once a week for months on time. They're filming them in a few days. For the longer ones, you're looking at maybe a couple weeks worth of work on them while they're doing other things. So the idea that Brennan is just going to be completely incapable of doing anything else, it's not really true. Yes, he is spreading himself kind of thin, but here's a fun fact. I am currently running 3 separate campaigns with custom magic items in custom worlds. I build maps for them. I develop assets for them. Like, I do absolutely everything for them. And I am 100% permanently and totally disabled. I cannot hold a real job. I cannot hold a part-time real job. It would literally kill me. And came close to doing it a couple times. So the idea that I can run these... Now, the stuff that I'm doing is not anywhere near the level that Critical Role in Dimension 20 does. So I could not run one Critical Role campaign, much less a Critical Role campaign, a Dimension 20 campaign, and then a bunch of other stuffs for Dimension 20. But Brennan's not me. Brennan is not disabled and actually can do all of these things. So yeah, the idea that Brennan's gonna be complete. No, he's not. He's gonna be working harder than he was. But he's not gonna be burnt out. Um, so yeah, I think again, I think Brennan was a logical choice if they were going to turn it over. Like I said, the only other person I could see running a Critical Role campaign would have been Chris Perkins, um, and I don't think Chris Perkins wants to do that anymore. Like he did that for a long time. Like Dice Camera Action was a weekly show that was actually broadcast live. Um, and it was amazing. It was one of the best D&D shows that they've ever put out. Was Dice Camera Action, and I think a lot of people after its cancellation, because of why it was canceled, really felt burned because Wizards of the Coast just threw the Dice Camera Action cast to the wolves and would not support them or anything like that, and just absolutely did them dirty. Especially Pro Jared. Like Pro Jared got the shortest stick anyone has ever gotten, and I will stand by that till the day I die. He should not have been treated the way that he was treated. So yeah, I think that was kind of the final nail in the coffin of Perkins doing stuff like that anymore. And I think he's more than happy to do exactly what he's doing at Darrington, which is writing amazing stories. So anyway, so yeah, I'm not worried about Brennan. I will say, campaign 4 is going to feel different than campaigns 1 through 3 because Brennan is not Matt Mercer. He runs a different game, and even if he is going to attempt to run a game closer to campaign 1 through 3, it's not going to work that way. And I think Brennan is skilled and experienced enough to know that it's kind of a waste of his time to try and run a Matt Mercer style campaign. However, I have never seen Brennan run what I would consider a long-term campaign. Because Dimension 20 stuff, I don't really consider that long-term. Most of their, I believe all of their campaigns run less than a year. And that's just not how Critical Role does it. I think campaign 2 was like, campaign 1 was like 2-ish years. Campaign 2 was like 3 or 4, and I think campaign 3 was in the neighborhood of about 3 years. That's a lot. And Critical Role runs longer than anything Dimension 20 does. So it is going to be much, much longer than anything Brennan has ever run before. And that is going to change how he does things. It's also not as tightly edited as Dimension 20 games are. They do edit the Dimension 20 games. My understanding is they do edit them to make them run smoother. So they take out dead air and things like that. And if there's like game breaking bloopers and stuff like that, they'll take that stuff out. So yeah, this is going to be a different experience for Brennan, and I'm interested to see where it goes. Yeah. So other stuff that you guys have been commenting about. There was one person that mentioned that when I asked about who do you think is not going to come back, and I said, my thoughts are Ashley and Taliesin are the two that would not be coming back, are the most likely not coming back. Somebody else mentioned that Sam and Travis might be the ones, and they make a really, really good point. Obviously, I mentioned that Travis might not because he's a CEO. However, I was unaware Travis and Sam are both running the 2 Critical Role TV shows, which does take a lot of time and effort. So it's a really valid point that maybe it will be Sam and Travis, because again they are very, very busy. I don't know how much acting work Sam is getting, because again, Sam also is a cancer survivor, which, if anyone is unaware, fighting cancer is not a fun thing in any way, shape, or form. And Sam kicked the living fucking shit out of it. So that probably took a huge, huge chunk of his life to deal with that. And so I don't know how much acting Sam is still doing. I believe he still does voice directing and things like that. But I haven't been seeing his name popping up or hearing his name or hearing his voice in video games or anything like that. So yeah, I think that is a completely valid thing. We will find out more as it gets closer to October 2nd. It's only 2 months away, guys. We have the rest of August, we have September, and then October 2nd is only the second day of October. That's why it's called October 2. It's not the sequel to October. The sequel to October is November, and it's a bad sequel. Like they changed directors. The execs got involved, and they're like, no, we need more dismalness, and then at the very end, we need a party. It's weird. They did fire the director of November. They just bring back October's director. Sorry, I don't know where that came from, but so we are going to find out more about the cast pretty soon. I would be surprised if we get to the end of August without at least one of the new cast members announced. And if we get through, if we get halfway through September and we don't have a system that they're running, I'll be very, very surprised. And again, if it is Daggerheart, I think there is a better chance they will announce it earlier rather than later. Because again, as soon as they announce it, they will see a jump in sales. Right now, they can't really afford a jump in sales because nobody can buy that damn game. Unless you get it digitally. But, yeah, so I thought that was a really, really good observation that I was unaware of. So, hats off to you, kind person that I don't know what your pronouns are. I did. There was someone that said, "Hey, you know, I'm a fan of Mulligan, but just something about his style, I can't stick with him for long." I 100% get that. Brennan Lee Mulligan, to me, has kind of the energy of like a puppy. Like he's got a lot of energy and he's really, really enthusiastic, and he just dives headlong. Like if you've ever had like a new puppy, like under 6 months old, everything that they do 110%. You know, if we're going to dig a hole, we're going to dig a hole. We're going to get all the way into the hole. And then they're going, as soon as they dig the hole, they're going to examine the hole. They're going to look at it, and then they're going to go get you, and they're going to look at this amazing hole I just made. And he's going to come over there, and he's like, look. See this hole? Oh, it's not done yet. I got to go dig it more. See, this is what I've been doing. Isn't this amazing? And then when you get mad at them for digging the hole, they're like, oh my God, I am a horrible person. I can just, and they will go so into just being, I'm a bad dog. Everything with a puppy is just 110%. This is what I'm doing. And that's kind of what Brennan Lee Mulligan does when he's in the DM's chair. Like he is there, and he's focused, and he's intense and everything. And that gets overwhelming really quick. There are people that really, really specifically enjoy that aspect of Brennan Lee Mulligan, that he's always dialed up to 110%. But I can 100% see how that can be overwhelming to the point where like I can't watch him for long periods of time because it's just wearing. As I mentioned before, the Brennan Lee Mulligan that we have seen in the Exandria Unlimited series and for Dropout, Brennan may start that way. He will not be able to sustain that through the entire thing because this style of storytelling does not support that kind of storytelling. It just doesn't. Telling stories for this long requires you to step back a little bit, requires you to be a little bit more subtle, because it allows you to tell stories that take months to years to pay off. And in order for those payoffs to feel good, you have to be more subtle. In the idea of, I've seen Brendan Lee Mulligan, and I get his DM style. It's cool in short bursts, but I can't watch it long term. Give him some time. Let's see what happens. I will guarantee. I doubt they've started filming yet, but they will have to start filming some of the episodes in late September at the latest. We're gonna start getting some. We're gonna start getting an idea of what Brennan Lee Mulligan's critical role is going to be compared to Matt Mercer's. Like I said, I think there's a possibility that he will start with doing what he's comfortable with, and again, I think it's going to turn off some people because he's not Matt Mercer. And I don't just mean that he is physically not Matt Mercer. I mean, Marisha can probably tell you that. But in addition to that, he doesn't run his games like Matt Mercer. He doesn't speak like Matt Mercer. He is literally not Matt Mercer. So his game is not going to run like Matt Mercer's game. And that's okay. I'm waiting for the first article about the Brendan Lee Mulligan effect to start circulating, because I'm sick and tired of hearing about the Mercer effect. No, it'll be the Mulligan effect, which that in and of itself is great. We're gonna upgrade from Mercer effect to Mulligan effect. I like Brendan Lee Mulligan. I think he's a phenomenally skilled actor in general, and he's very, very good at improvisation and things like that, which are all very useful things. But I've never watched a full Dimension 20 Geeky campaign. I'm not subscribed. I keep meaning to, but my brain doesn't like me watching new things. Like, here's a fun fact. We were talking about Sword World in my other video. I am so excited about Sword World, I am watching Record of Lodoss War again. Which, to be blunt, I have never watched it in its entirety. Like, I've watched the first episode and then bits and pieces of the rest of it, and I've read synopses of it. So I've never watched the entire thing. But after the Sword World announcement, I immediately went back to my Crunchyroll and started watching it. And guys, it is 80s/early 90s anime at its finest. And if you know, you know. But I've been enjoying the hell out of it. It's really fun. And learning about just all of the stuff that went into Lodoss War and everything. Like, it's just, chef's kiss, amazing. Instead of finding something new, I'm watching something that I'm very, very, very familiar with, because that's how my brain likes things. I don't know if I'm going to like the new campaign. I've seen some of Brendan Lee Mulligan's DMing stuff, and I haven't been 100% sold on it. I remember watching, was it Divergence? The most recent one that happened right after Campaign 3 that Brendan Lee Mulligan. And something about it just really turned me off. Like, it felt like a massive slog the entire time. And I couldn't figure out why. I have no idea if I'm going to be able to watch Campaign 4 with Brendan Lee Mulligan or not. But, we will see, I think. We will definitely see. Any other stuff that you guys have commented? Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give a heart to each one of these comments, because I'm just answering it here. Because again, my brain's just not working. Somebody did comment on the Sword World translation. Guys, I cannot tell you how excited I am about Sword World coming to English. Again, I have, let me rephrase that. I can neither confirm nor deny me having the presence of a fan translation of Sword World 2.5. But if I had it, it's a cool system, but the fan translation is rough. and it's kind of weird to try and read it. It's a fantastic job. I'm not saying that the fan translators did something poorly, but fan translations in general are always going to be a little bit weird. And this is going to be an official copy that I can purchase. I'm a huge believer in the idea that if I'm going to own a system for whatever reason, I'm going to pay for it in some way, shape, or form. Even systems that are out of print and things like that, I generally don't like downloading copies of them unless it is literally the only way that I can get a copy of it, and I'm using it for like research for a video or something like that. Like I won't run a system that I haven't paid for. Let's put it that way. So yeah, I'm massively excited about Sword World. Of all the other announcements that I mentioned, Sword World translation is like my biggest one that I'm pumped for. So anyway, hope that answered all of you guys' questions. If you have more comments, feel free to leave them in the description before. I normally reply to every single comment at least once. However, like I said, I've been really not doing well. Part of it may have something to do with the fact that I stopped taking my vitamin D supplements because all my health issues, I had to figure out if the medications that I was taking were causing it to get worse. So I'm back on the D, and so I'm hoping that'll help with my mood and all the other issues that I've been having going wrong recently. But so yeah, normally I reply to all the stuff. It was just I've been so bad that this was the easiest way to answer all this stuff. So if you guys like the video answers versus me just typing stuff out, let me know in the comments too. I might do this more often if I get lots of, like, I can't do, most of my videos only get like, if I'm like a really engaged video, I get like 2 comments. So this is not something that I could do like every day, like it's time for another comment. No, this is like once every couple of months kind of thing, or if I have a really big video that gets lots of engagement, I might be able to do it. But if this kind of format works for you guys, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, again, it's all for me today. I will see you guys next time. All right? Bye-bye.